The tenant in 4B. The apartment had been empty for 11 months. That wasn't the strange part. The strange part was the electricity bill, still arriving every month, still showing usage. Nobody at the building management office could explain it. The unit was locked, the previous tenant had moved out quietly, and the keys had never been returned. When the property manager, a tired man named Gerald Holt, finally decided to investigate, he told his assistant he'd be back in 20 minutes. He was never seen again. That's where my story begins, though I didn't know it at the time. My name is Cara Brennan. I'm a freelance journalist, the kind that covers local oddities for regional magazines. Ghost towns, urban legends, strange disappearances that the bigger outlets don't care about. Gerald Holt's disappearance was reported once, briefly, in a city news digest. 3 sentences. His wife called the police. The police checked the building, found nothing unusual, and filed a missing persons report that sat in a drawer somewhere. 6 weeks later, I got a call from Gerald's wife, Diane. She said she'd read one of my pieces, a story about a motel in rural Ohio where 3 guests had vanished in the same room over 9 years. She said my number felt like the last one worth trying. I drove to Millfield in October, when the air already smelled like wet leaves and cold stone. The Aldrich building stood at the end of a narrow one-way street, 6 floors of dark brick, built in the 1940s, the kind of place that looked like it was leaning slightly forward, watching the street below. Half the apartments were occupied. The other half had been slowly emptying out over the past 2 years, for reasons the remaining tenants described vaguely as the feeling. I met Diane at a diner 2 blocks away. She slid a folder across the table. "These are the electricity records for 4B, she said. Gerald printed them before he went up. Every month for 11 months, the unit registered power draw, 40 to 60 kilowatt hours. Enough for a few appliances, a lamp, a refrigerator, a television left on low. Did the police look at this? I asked. They said it was probably a meter error. And the tenant? A woman named Sylvie Marsh, Diane said. She lived there for 3 years, paid on time, quiet. Then one day she just stopped. No notice, no forwarding address. Gerald said her furniture was still inside when he checked. He thought she'd come back. After a while, he decided to go in. She paused. That was 5 weeks ago. I asked about the other tenants. Diane gave me a name. Mona Fell, 3rd floor. Mona answered the door in a cardigan and slippers, her expression guarded until I explained why I was there. Then she stepped aside. The sounds started about 2 years ago, she said, pouring tea. I thought it was a television at first, but it wasn't. What was it? Talking. One voice. Not words, just rhythm. Like someone repeating the same thing. Always between 2 and 4 in the morning. From 4B? She nodded. Directly above me. She hesitated, then added, I knocked twice, back when Sylvie was still there. The second time, she looked wrong. Hollowed out. Like something had been using her up. I asked if she was all right. She smiled and said, I've never slept better in my life. Then she closed the door. Did the sound stop after she left? Mona looked at me. No, she said. I wasn't authorized to enter 4B. I went anyway. The 4th floor hallway smelled different. Halfway down, the air shifted, cooler, faintly sweet, like a refrigerator left open. I stood outside the door longer than I should have. Then I knocked. Silence. The key turned easily. Inside, the apartment was dim in a way that didn't match the afternoon light outside. The lamp flickered on, revealing furniture still in place. A gray sofa, a small dining table, a bookshelf along the far wall. In the kitchen, a small plant sat on the windowsill, alive. Someone had been watering it. I moved slowly, taking photographs. The bedroom was neat, the bed made, a glass on the nightstand, long since evaporated. A notebook lay on the pillow. In the bathroom, a towel hung on the rack. I touched it, cold, but damp. I went back for the notebook. The handwriting was small and precise, careful, repeated. It wasn't a journal. It was the same 2 lines, written over and over. I don't need to sleep anymore. There's something else that happens when I close my eyes. It knows my name. 47 pages, front and back. I was photographing the last page when I heard it. From the wall. Not behind it, inside it. A low, steady sound, like breathing. I stood very still. It didn't change, didn't stop, just continued, patient and even. I left, locked the door, walked to the elevator. I didn't run. My hands were steady. My mind wasn't. That night, in my motel room, I reviewed the photographs. Everything was there, except one felt wrong. The bookshelf. At first, nothing stood out. Then I zoomed in. A narrow gap between 2 books. The darkness inside it looked thicker. Not just shadow, something with weight. I zoomed in further and saw them. 2 small points of pale light. Eyes. Something had been sitting there, watching me. I called Diane the next morning, told her everything. She listened in silence. "Cara," she said finally, "Gerald called me from that apartment. He said it was empty, just furniture, nothing strange. He thought maybe an animal had gotten into the walls." A pause. "He said it was very quiet, the kind of quiet you only hear when something is paying close attention." Those were the last words he said. The police checked the apartment a week later. It was empty. No furniture, no belongings, no notebook. No sign anyone had been there. I still think about Sylvie Marsh, about what Mona said, how she looked near the end, hollowed out, smiling, sleeping better than she ever had in her life. After the report was filed, I kept digging. There are records of Sylvie Marsh in the building's files. Lease, payments, a copy of her ID. But outside of that, nothing. No social media, no traceable history, no employment records. The phone number she gave had already been reassigned. I contacted the agency that issued the ID. They told me the number was valid, but the name attached to it didn't match. I went back to Millfield once more before filing my piece. I showed Mona the photograph of the bookshelf. She studied it for a long time. "That's not how I remember her apartment," she said. "What do you mean?" "She didn't have a bookshelf," Mona said slowly. "I would remember that." I didn't respond. "She didn't have much of anything," Mona added. That was the strange part. It always felt bare. She handed the phone back. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she looked at me, something uncertain in her expression. "Are you certain," she asked quietly, "that you went into the right apartment?" Dear viewer, If you enjoy stories that stay with you long after they end, make sure you subscribe. There's a lot more coming.